Today on the Autocar show, Renault adds a 1-litre engine to the Kwid. It's got more power, but is it better? Then, just how impressive is the new Audi A4? Take a first look at the all-new Hyundai Elantra. And more news on Autocar Confidential.
This is the most talked about car in the Indian market. This is the car that has given Maruti sleepless nights. And this is the car that has broken the mold. It's a game changer. And it was the 2016 Autocar Car of the Year. Vindication of all this is the fact that around 8,000 to 9,000 people line up with checks in hand to buy it. This is the Renault Kwid, which after nearly a year of a trailblazing run, comes to us in yet another avatar. This time round, it gets a bigger 1-litre engine. It's got more power for sure, but is it better? And should you be paying that little bit extra for it? That's what we're going to find out in this quick test ride. Let's look back a bit and remember the Kwid's strengths. Things that worked in the Kwid's favor included its SUV-inspired looks, the spacious cabin, practicality, class-leading equipment, and great value. Well, the cabin of the 1-litre Kwid is pretty much unchanged, so it's carried over from the 800cc version. So what you get is a spacious, practical cabin. There's lots of storage space to keep your stuff. Yes, the plastics are a bit brittle and feel a bit cheap, but that's what you would expect from a budget car. But what you don't expect from a budget car is this touch screen. Now, the Kwid was launched with this nearly a year back and it is become a rage. In fact, all other manufacturers are planning to give a touchscreen as well, because really this is a big selling point of this car. There's one thing I don't like, however, and it's this. Look at it, it doesn't even shut properly. And this is something that Renault is working on fixing. This latch of this glove box is very weak. But what's interesting is that this part is the 2% which is not localized. Yes, the Kwid is 98% localized, but the 2% of the parts come from abroad, and this is one of them. So the only parts that are really not Indian are the ones that are giving problems. So that's really a big thumbs up for the Make in India story. The 1-litre Kwid is available with the option of a driver's side airbag. It also gets what Renault calls Pro Sense front seat belts that are fitted with pre-tensioners and load limiters. But the talking point here really is the engine. Renault wanted the 800cc Kwid to be the most fuel-efficient car in its class. So the Kwid's 3-cylinder 800cc engine, though efficient, was let down by a jerky low-speed power delivery. Because that's what happens when you tune it for fuel efficiency. Also, with just 54 horsepower on tap, performance wasn't exceptional in any way. And that's where the Kwid 1-litre steps in. It comes with a larger 3-cylinder engine that makes 68 HP and 91 Newton meters of torque. And it's targeted at buyers who want a degree of performance from their budget hatchbacks. Now, the 1-litre Kwid has become heavier, but that's more due to some structural reinforcements than the engine weight itself, but it still has the best power to weight ratio, 97 HP per ton. That's really better than many bigger hatchbacks. Well, with a larger engine and substantially more power, you would expect the performance of the 1-litre Kwid to be better. But it's not just the performance we're talking about over here, it's just the way the power is delivered that is the talking point. Now, the 800cc Kwid was very fuel efficient, but that came at the cost of a little bit of drivability. There was always a bit of hesitation, a bit of jerkiness. But in this car, that's all smoothened out. Yes, in traffic, there is a little bit of jerkiness, but once you start going, it really is a very linear power delivery. And that's what makes the 1-litre Kwid so much nicer to drive. You can tell how the large engine has enhanced the Kwid from the moment you fire it up. There are fewer vibrations and fewer flat spots too. There is noticeably more power, so overtaking traffic in town is that bit easier. What also helps the Kwid in town is the progressiveness of the clutch and the 5-speed gearbox, which is also shared with the 800cc, and that's also light to use. Those looking for the convenience of an automatic will have to wait for the end of the year, which is when the AMT version is likely to be launched. We are on the East Coast Road, which is from Chennai to Mahabalipuram, and I can say that even at highway speeds, the 1-litre Kwid does a really decent job. It feels pretty grown up, it feels really stable and planted on the highway. Yes, the steering still has a little bit of vagueness, but after a year, Renault have done quite a few improvements, and the constant tweaks have just made this a more rounded car. Now, the larger 1-litre engine hasn't compromised fuel economy too much. The ARAI tested fuel economy figure for the Kwid 1-litre is 23.01 kpl, which is not too far down on the 800cc's 25.17 kpl. What a difference the 1-litre engine has made to the Kwid. In fact, it's possibly addressed its biggest weakness, which is the drivability of the 800cc engine. Now, with this more powerful engine, the Kwid feels more effortless to drive. It feels like a more well-rounded package. And though the bigger engine does penalize fuel efficiency, it's really not by that much. But the question is, should you be paying 25 to 30,000 rupees more for this car? Most certainly yes, because the Kwid is the best budget car you can buy for your money, and the 1-litre engine has made it even better.
The A4 is Audi India's best-selling sedan, and in fact, on a couple of months of the year when it outsells the Q3 SUV, it becomes Audi India's best-selling product. The A3 may be the starting point to Audi India's sedan lineup, but it is the A4 size and positioning that really strikes a chord with people looking for luxury on the whole, whether be it in the front seat or in the back. Now, the A4 has been outclassed by its rivals over the past few years, so this all-new model couldn't come a day sooner. How much of an improvement is it, and what makes it special? Let's find out. Roll by this A4 and you would be hesitant to call it all new. It doesn't look all too different to the older one, but spend a little time and you'll see the changes. It's visually a lot wider, something that's enhanced by the larger, protruding and more textured grille, and also those sharply cut new headlamps. The lines are a lot more pronounced, especially down the sides. The rear looks familiar, though the new multi-layered LED tail lamps and their swiping indicators set it apart. The outside may remind you of the old A4, but the interior resembles the new Q7, which is really impressive. There's a choice of beige and black or all black leather upholstery. The standing MMI screen is very well integrated, and yes, there's even Audi's fancy virtual cockpit digital instrument cluster. Material quality, as ever with Audi, is just superb, and a small but consequential thing to note is the use of thick, rich-feeling slabs of wood on the dash and doors that really make this cabin feel plush. Other nice bits? Sure. The haptic buttons that preview their function when you run your finger over them are a stylistic and cool touch. There's a wireless charging pad for QI-compatible phones. The infotainment system comes factory fit with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and the touchpad for the telephone system makes it easy to enter commands on the go. And then there is the keys memory function that remembers not just your seat and mirror positions, but your AC, drive select mode and media preferences as well. The front seats are much better contoured than the previous A4s and are more comfy over long distances as a result. Moreover, it's really easy getting comfortable behind the wheel thanks to a great driving position and good all-round visibility. Now to the engine, and there's a big change here. The old A4's 1.8-litre turbo petrol unit has been replaced by a smaller 1.4-litre turbo petrol unit, pretty much the same one that's in the Skoda Octavia 1.4 TSI. The new 1.4 litres 150 HP and 250 Nm are quite a bit down on the old car's 170 HP and 320 Nm. But as Audi is quick to point out, performance hasn't really taken much of a hit. This car's 8.5 second 0 to 100 kph time is just 0.3 behind the old cars. What's helped here is the weight reduction. This one weighs 95 kgs less than its predecessor, and also the use of a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox instead of the old car's CVT. So, how does the 1.4 litre engine feel in the real world? You'll be pleasantly surprised. You can't really tell that this is a small motor. On startup, it's quiet, it's smooth, and when you get going, it doesn't really feel strained. In fact, the whole car feels quite nice and light on its feet. The 7-speed dual clutch gearbox also works extremely well, just as it does on all other Audis it finds use on. It's quick, smooth, and the transitions between gears are jerk-free. The thing is, when you ask the A4 a bit more, that's when the engine begins to falter. You press down on the accelerator, the gearbox will go down a gear or two, and the engine will rev into the mid-range and then work its way into the top end. It's just that at these moments you can tell that there's not all that much power on offer, and the noise levels increase without really an equal increase in performance. And that will be a bit of a disappointment if you're looking solely for performance. Shifting to dynamic mode also doesn't really help much, rather it amplifies the situation because dynamic really keeps the engine on the boil. You'll be closer to the 6,250 RPM mark, and really there isn't all that much performance to exploit. I think you'll be better off in comfort. It's a mixed bag on the highway too. The A4 is an able cruiser. Keep a light foot on the throttle or a steady throttle and it'll just cruise along quite effortlessly. Again, when you press down on the accelerator, you don't get that same burst of performance that you would expect in a car of this class. Frankly, this engine, if it had more punch, it would have been a really well-rounded package. Another reason the A4 really could do with a stronger engine is because of how much sharper the handlings become. Note, this A430 TFSI will be available in front-wheel drive form only, and there's no word on if and when the Quattro versions will come. So, how does it handle? There weren't all that many corners on our test route, but the few long sweepers that we did take, the A4 did feel quite poised. And what's nice is that there's a newfound feeling of connection with the steering and the front wheels that you didn't get in the old A4. It goes where you want it to, and it handles quite well for what is solely a front-wheel drive sedan. But more than the handling, the real revelation is the new A4's ride quality. Where the new A4 really distinguishes itself from the competition is in the ride department. Now, Audi has raised the A4 for India, but it's not come at the cost of handling and stability. The A4 still feels poised, and you don't get that unnecessary up and down movement which you get in other cars which have been raised specially for India. Bump absorption is first rate, and what's also good is that the 17-inch Hankook tires, they're chunky, so they absorb everything, even at low speeds, very well. The great ride quality is one aspect that will be of interest to chauffeur-driven buyers. The other, of course, is the rear seat itself. Audi has managed to liberate a lot of room in the back with lots of legroom and headroom on offer. The seat is positioned a bit low, so ingress is a bit cumbersome, but once settled in, you'll like the comfort on offer and also the nice view out the large windows. However, the seat is best for two. The high center tunnel will make life difficult for the middle passenger. Audi will launch the new A4 in India in early September. At launch, the A4 will solely be available with the 1.4-litre petrol engine, though a more powerful 2-litre diesel engine will join the range in the months to come. We expect prices for the A4 to start at 36 lakh rupees ex-showroom, so should you be interested? Audi is onto something really good with the all-new A4. Outside and in, it comes across as an evolution rather than a revolution, but somehow it just works here. Space and comfort are vastly superior to the car it replaces, and dynamically too, the A4 has taken it up a few notches. Technology is Audi's hallmark, and this car is loaded with the stuff. If there's a white elephant in the room, it's got to be the engine. Now, Audi is confident people will warm up to the idea of downsized motors, and the truth is, if you're chauffeur-driven or will be traveling around in the city, you won't really have much to bother about. Still, we'd like to reserve judgment till we get our hands on the diesel engine version and perhaps even a more powerful petrol, which could be on our way soon. Till then, as things stand, the A4 has a lot going for it.
The executive sedan segment has been a segment that's seen a decline in numbers. It's not really a segment where people are wanting to buy cars. People that look in this segment are looking more towards the SUVs, but Hyundai are looking to bring some excitement back, looking to woo back customers to the sedan segment with the all-new 6th generation Elantra. Can they? Well, Hyundai have definitely wooed customers with their fluidic design and styling, and the Elantra, new Elantra, looks to do the same. It's moved away a little bit from that low-slung look. There's a high nose now, a massive hexagonal grille, and of course you have the boomerang shape housings for the fog lamp, but they don't only serve as a housing for the fog lamp, they also serve as an air intake to form an air curtain around the wheel, which will enhance stability and give better handling and ride quality. Around the side you have the coupe-like roofline with the seat pillar almost melding into the end of the boot right at the back, and of course you have the LED tail lamps to give it a standout look. We've come to expect a certain level of quality from Hyundai cars now, and the Elantra definitely stands up to that. It's quite far ahead of the previous version, but instead of having a lot of flowing lines and narrowed down central console, this one looks almost German in its design, a little more staid, a little more simple, but using good quality materials and of course coming loaded with equipment. An executive sedan is all about the back seat because this is where most of the owners will be, and there is a good amount of space for the size and the segment. You've got lots of knee room, you've got lots of headroom, but that's mostly because you sit quite low. Tall person would be a little knee up, under thigh support is a little bit lacking, and you sit quite low to the window line as well. But as far as space is concerned, it's definitely comfortable. Well, trying out the hands-free boot release. Need to walk up to the car and there you go. No touching, just the keys with me and boot open. Well, that was our first quick look at the Hyundai Elantra. It's going to come with two powertrains, a brand new 2-litre petrol and of course a tried and tested 1.6 diesel. I'm off to Chennai to drive this car tomorrow. Can't wait to get my hands on it, and you'll be catching that on the Autocar show next week. Will this global bestseller for Hyundai become a bestseller in India is what I'm going to find out.
Hello and welcome to Autocar Confidential. Now the Elantra has just been launched and straight off the floor, we've picked up some more news on what Hyundai is planning for this market. Now everyone's been waiting for the i20 automatic and it is coming and is coming as early as next month with 1.4 litre petrol engine. So all of you who've been waiting for an auto, well, you don't have to wait much longer. This car is going to be here well in time for the festive season. Now the other big one is the Hyundai Tucson, which we'd reviewed earlier. We said it was going to be coming in time for the festive season. It is expected in Diwali, but it's likely that Hyundai might push the launch to next year. Still not decided right now because Hyundai wants some time between its launches. The Elantra has only just been launched. You'll be having the Hyundai i20 Auto, and then to have the Tucson on top of that might just be a little bit too much. So those waiting for the Tucson might have to wait just that little bit extra. That's it from me this week, but keep watching the Autocar Show.